And good afternoon, everyone. This is John and Shawn with Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports. Once again, we're joined by Jeremy from NFL Chaos with Jeremy. Guys, good morning or good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, doing well. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm good. Just enjoying sunny San Diego.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was going to say it's a little different background there.
We're in a rented house, but luckily they have good Wi-Fi. So
Nice. Sweet. So we now that the offseason has officially begun, congratulations to the Rams for winning the Super Bowl. But we wanted to start and take a look at how our projections fared against actual player stats for the year. But before we start doing that, guys, any quarterbacks that stuck out to you and impressed during the season, rookie or veteran?
Pretty much, I guess you could say, is Joe Burrow coming back from the injury to being a Super Bowl contending quarterback. It kind of was. It was not shocking, but surprising. It was that quick of a rebound.
Yeah. How about you, Jeremy?
he's definitely the success story of the year. No question about it. It's because we didn't have enough information to know whether he was going to hit his ceiling or anything. And I think he answered the Bengals fans' questions really fast, right? He comes back, gets them to the Super Bowl. They know they have their franchise guy. They know they have a top 10 guy, if not even higher, top 5, whatever. I don't want to make those predictions, but he's obviously a great quarterback. And he's the story of the year. I think Mac Jones, while he was in a system that I think other quarterbacks, may have succeeded in, and I know a lot of people say that, he's still a story because he showed, out of all the rookies, he is the first one to establish that he is an NFL mainstay. Like he's going to be the quarterback for the Patriots for a long time. I feel that way. I feel he proved that he's good enough that he's going to work out and be their starting quarterback for years to come. I don't know that he's going to be a superstar, and I don't know that there's not imperfections there, and it wasn't, and limitations, and that he had a good system. I know a lot of people say that, but he did everything he was asked. He showed that he could win in this league, and that, to me, that out of all the rookie class that came in, he was the first to establish himself as a long-term starter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yep, agreed. So, guys, if you're watching on replay, I'm putting this up. It's like a little PDF magazine. There is down in the description. There is a link to download a copy for yourself, no charge. So, take a look at that. But yeah, so I made this just to see. Let's see here. I do have the projections. Let's get that off the screen. Going into the year, these were our top 10 quarterbacks projected. I only did 10 because most fantasy leagues I play in are 10. So usually if you get one of these guys, you're not worried about a backup quarterback until maybe a bye week or something. But I don't have it here in front of me. Oh, I do. Sorry. We have coming in at number 10 is Ryan Tannehill. Number 9 was Justin Herbert. Brady was 8. Dak Prescott was 7. Lamar Jackson was 6. Kyler Murray was 5. Aaron Rodgers was 4. Russell Wilson was 3. Josh Allen was 2. And Patrick Mahomes was number 1 projected fantasy quarterback of the year. Shawn, let's start with you. Any of the guys there that we had projected top 10 who shouldn't have been? Don't consider injuries throughout the year, but going into the season, any of these guys that shouldn't have been there?
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill. I don't think he has an arm to be a top 10 quarterback anymore in the league. But I just think that there's definitely probably 6 to 8 quarterbacks that are probably on a regular better than Ryan Tannehill.
Gotcha. Jeremy, your thoughts on the top 10 there?
Yeah, Tannehill would have been the one to surprise me the most. Also, just Dak Prescott, not because I don't think he's a good quarterback, just surprising because he was coming back from an injury, a pretty serious one. So to me, that would have been risky. Like if I'm drafting, I wouldn't have ranked him that high. I would have lowered him and I would have avoided him just based on the injury and the uncertainty. But otherwise, those were the guys going into the season for sure. I mean, obviously, we know how it worked out, and there's a lot of changes we will make right now. But going into the season, I think this is, for the most part, really accurate and good.
Yeah, let's get into our top 10 fantasy quarterbacks for the season. Coming in at number 10 was Sean's favorite baseball player, Kyler Murray. Thoughts on Kyler Murray? We had him projected 5th. He ended up 10th, which is still worth fantasy starting spot. But your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, he missed 3-4 weeks there in the middle of the year and still finished in the top 10 with missing as many weeks as he did.
Yeah,
that kind of shows how good of stats he was putting up when he was healthy. I just think that if he had DeAndre Hopkins, those stats would have been a lot better. When you think about it, he finished half the year out without his number one wide receiver. Then he had Christian Kirk and AJ Green, who he only played with Kirk in previously. And then he had no tight end, so they traded for Zach Ertz. Mm-hmm. He was without his running back for half the year with his injury, and he was just getting used to James Conner, and he was getting banged up. So I think, honestly, Kyler Murray kind of put the team on his back and carried him there to the playoffs. You could see once he started getting banged up, though, throughout the year is when they started losing more games. So I think that if he wants to be a successful quarterback in the league and win Super Bowls, he's going to have to get away from being a quarterback that goes and takes the big hits and needs to stretch for that extra yard and risk injury. It's just he's got to try to realize what's the risk versus reward, trying to not kill himself early in games and early in the year.
Yeah, Jeremy, any thoughts on Kyler Murray?
Yeah, I think on what Shawn just said, like that's the thing that would, once you get into top 10, yeah, he's a starting quarterback in the league. If you're talking from a fantasy perspective, though, he's the amount of points scored in that level, like at number 10, you could look at the guy, number 11 guy, the number 12 guy, right? You could look at the guys around him in his group. There's not a lot of separation in points once you fall down into that 10 area. Unless you got to look where the drop off begins, right? Where does it start to drop off? Like, what number do you have to get your quarterback by before you have that big drop off? Now, the big concern about me that lowers him on my board, not as in real life, like as a player, great. But if I'm his coach, in real life, I'm his coach, and as a fantasy guy, I have the same exact concern, and Shawn said it. He puts himself at high risk. And in this league, there's only so many times you can do that until you're going to pay the price. So if I'm Kyle Murray's coach, if I'm using him, in Arizona and I'm in charge there, I'm doing what the Jets did with Zach Wilson. I'm saying stay in the pocket. They should have done this when he was in his first year. Mm-hmm. Don't use your tools yet. Develop as a pocket passer because you cannot have longevity relying on running and scrambling. We've seen it. You don't have a long career. You're going to eventually get hit. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get knocked around, and you're going to be out of the league in 5 or 6 years. So for a guy like Kyle Murray to work out, you have to establish yourself as a pocket passer only, like that you could be in this league and be very effective as a pocket passer and use the run and use the scrambling as a weapon when you have to. But anytime I see a guy relying too much on it and getting himself hit like that, it concerns me both in real life as a fan, as a coach, or as a fantasy owner, like who's drafting a player. I don't want a guy who I have to worry is going to get himself hurt because he's taking too many chances and not just living to fight another play. So that's how I feel about him. He's a decent guy to have if he stays healthy, and if you have him on your roster, you start him because he's healthy. That's fine, but to rely on him as your starting quarterback is a scary proposition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's move on to number 9 here. We had Sean's favorite player in the NFL, Kirk Cousins.
Cousin Kirk. No, he had a good year. Yeah. He kept the turnovers down, and with the high touchdown ratio that he had on any successful team that probably would have been in the playoffs, I wouldn't be shocked if he would have been in top 5 for MVP voting. if he would have made the playoffs. His numbers compared kind of to like an Aaron Rodgers and a Tom Brady with the touchdown to turnover ratio. He did really good for what he had. It's just when you lose that many games, you're not going to perform as well and be on a good team. So with him losing as much, he kind of went under the radar. And for being a top 9 quarterback, even a top 10, it's just underachieving. But if he does stay with Minnesota this year, I hope that the team kind of improves better. We can have a winning record and be able to compete for the playoffs again. And this time around, not lose as many games as we did in the fourth quarter and kind of develop more into running the ball when we have the lead.
Yeah, and we had him projected at 13th, and he finished 9th, like Jeremy was saying. Those guys in that tier, how far of a drop off is it from 8 or 9 to 13, 14, 15 in that range? But yeah, Jeremy, your thoughts on Kirk Cousins?
I think the biggest knock on him, because he's a good quarterback, he's a good fantasy quarterback for sure. I know the fans feel that he might let them down a little bit in the big situations. I've heard that, but and frustrate fans. But I think he's a good quarterback. He's solid. You know what you're getting. I think that the problem with Kirk Cousins, just as the biggest knock would be just we know what his ceiling is, right? So you lose the excitement of that hope that he could have this huge year and he's going to throw 45 touchdowns and, that you get with younger guys. We know Kirk Cousins' ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year is his ceiling. Like it's not going to get much better than that. Like this is what you're getting. Now, if you draft and you build a good team and now you're in a round where you need your quarterback and these statistics fit well into your team, you're good. Right. But you when you take him, know that you're not going to get 45 touchdowns. You're not going to get 48 to 5,500 yards. You're not going to get 400 rushing yards with extra 4 or 5, or 6 rushing touchdowns. You know what you're going to get. So he's reliable and good. So if your team is not going to be very high round pick on a quarterback and you're going running back and wide receivers and getting the quarterback a little later, very solid pick. Good guy to have on your team.
Yeah, and kind of to touch on what Jeremy said there too, you also think he has 66% completions and the 4,200 yards. That's also without Adam Thielen for majority of the year. Dalvin Cook was injured for some of the year. We had no tight end on the team that we were expecting. So you kind of expect what he made out of what he did. And with the interceptions he had, I would say probably 4, even 5 of them were either trailing games or he was under a lot of pressure and it was a 50-50 ball. There was no really, that's a bad turnover he had sort of thing. Like it was one of those, like he brought the team back from a lot of games that they were losing, had the lead in a lot of games. It was just games where we had multiple touchdown leads that we would let the game go away and would lose the game. And that's the mistakes you can't have when you want to win in the NFL.
Yeah, agreed. So let's go to number 8. Our number 8 quarterback was Joe Burrow. We had him projected at 12th. So right in that range of group of guys that could finish anywhere between about 8th to 15th. But man, what a comeback. Takes his team to the Super Bowl. We had him projected, like I said, 12th. Finished 8th. Yards. Touchdowns, we had him at 26. He had 34. Interceptions for about the same. So, guys, thoughts on Burrow and how he led the Bengals this year?
I mean, where do you even kind of start? I mean, the incredible comeback year he had, the amount of, like, I can't even say criticism he had, like, oh, is Chase going to work there? They should have taken a lineman. They put that all behind him right away in week 1 when Jamar Chase came out for like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think it worked out in their favor. I think it was a good result for him. And I mean, they went to the Super Bowl. He put the team on his back. He didn't make mistakes. And for a guy that got sacked the most times this year, he still put up great numbers. So 71% completion ratio. You think about it, every 7 out of every 10 throws he was completing, and he wasn't the mobile quarterback he was his rookie year with the injury. So you think about it, can you imagine what he'll be next year when he is more mobile? The following year when he kind of gets his, I can't say get his legs under him because of a major leg injury, but he is coming back and still did those numbers. So I can only imagine what it'll happen when he is fully healthy and ready to go again.
Yeah. Jeremy, thoughts on Joe Burrow?
It's kind of like the opposite of the Kirk Cousins thing, right? Because even though the numbers, because of the interceptions, might even favor Cousins from 21, the opposite is what I mean by having that, not knowing that ceiling, right? With Kirk Cousins, you know what you're going to get. Burrow gives you that hope of when you pick him and you take him, you have this potential, and you're thinking to yourself, well, if he did that his first full season, maybe he's going to go over 5,000 yards. Maybe he's going to go over 40 touchdowns. Maybe he's going to lower his interception rate. He just probably grew so much going to that playoff run into the Super Bowl. Can you imagine how much growth that was as a player? So what's exciting about him is the unlimited ceiling. I mean, this is a guy who can end up finishing next year easily in the top 5 fantasy. So it's that's the difference is Kirk Cousins is more reliable. You know what the numbers will be. But with Burrow, you have this excitement, this hope that these numbers might not be what he is every year. These numbers might be just another step on the ladder to something even more special. So he's an exciting quarterback right now. For me, going into a fantasy league next year, going into a draft, I'm going to be looking very closely at Joe Burrow.
Right. Yeah, agreed. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they improve off of this year's numbers and to see what kind of protection they put around him. They're definitely going to have to do something. 51 sacks is incredible. I believe that averages out to 3 a game, and I know they gave up 9 in the first playoff game. They gave up 7 in the Super Bowl. So let's move on to number 7 here. Our number 7, the only player we had where he finished where we projected him was Dak Prescott. We had him at 7. He finished 7th. Guys, your thoughts on Dallas and Dak Prescott? I mean, they seem like they can always get to the playoffs, but then that's it. They don't go on from there.
Yeah, I think Dallas's issue is the playoff issue. You make the playoffs, you got to be able to perform, and it seems like every time they do, the team kind of underperforms for them, not only offensively but defensively. But Dak for coming back from a major ankle injury and leg injury that he put up great numbers. And you think about it, that's without Amari Cooper for the middle part of the season when he was injured. He kind of, beginning of the year, he was with CeeDee Lamb and they were on the same page. But as the year went on, he kind of like stopped throwing towards CeeDee Lamb as much and kind of went towards Cedric Wilson and Amari Cooper more. And then Dalton Schultz, he used him a lot as well and started using his tight end position a lot more with what he had to use. And instead of doing the 20, 30-yard passes, he was doing more 5 to 10. So that's why his completion ratio is up a lot more to his yards. They kind of let his receivers do that work. But I think he had a great year for what his team gave him. You think about it, the amount of turnovers they had, it kind of made the team look great because the defense is giving you great field position. You're able to put it up on points. So a lot of that time is you're getting easy points. So I think for that aspect, Dak had a great year fantasy-wise and even overall had a great number. He didn't have the turnovers and he didn't get sacked as much as normal because the offensive line was more healthy this year. But he still has to be able to perform when it comes playoff time.
Yeah, agreed. Jeremy, thoughts on Dak Prescott?
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Kirk Cousins in the sense that he He's very good, puts up really good numbers, gets fans excited, like Dallas fans excited. We got our guy. But then it just doesn't happen. Like something goes wrong. So it's just, and I don't know if it's the team around him. Like, Dallas had a very good defense this year. It seems like he has great players around him. He just needs to get over that hump, and be able to win and lead his team to winning the big games. From a fantasy perspective, solid guy. You're going to get, what you're going to get. You're going to get around 4,500 yards. You're going to get maybe the roof, maybe the ceiling. You get like 40 touchdowns, on a weaker year, maybe only 35,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you're going to get somewhere between 8 to 12 interceptions or whatever, like somewhere in that range. I mean, you know exactly what you're going to get. There's no more ceiling, like unlimitless ceiling. He's not going to suddenly put up 50 touchdowns and throw for 5,500 yards. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's not what you'd expect. Right? You wouldn't count on that. You wouldn't draft him thinking maybe he'll get me 50 touchdowns. So you know what you're getting with him. There's an injury history, which would make me a little hesitant if I can get a similar guy that, or a guy with upside. But there's not too much of an injury history where I consider him undraftable. So, from a fantasy perspective, good quarterback, solid guy. If you're picking somewhere in around where you think the quarterbacks are going and there's a drop off after him, you grab him, you feel okay about having Dak Prescott as your quarterback. Do you get him really early in the very early rounds to be the guy that's going to carry your team? Probably not. And I think Dallas fans are just thinking put the right pieces around him because he's certainly good enough. You can win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. Mm-hmm. You can, definitely. But he's not looking like a Tom Brady that puts the team on his shoulders and gets you there, whether you like it or not. Like, he's not that guy. But he's certainly better than good enough that if you get the right chemistry and you get maybe the right better coach, if you get the right things around him, he clearly is a guy. He has great leadership qualities. I think he's a great team player. You could win a Super Bowl with this quarterback, no question about it. But I think that they just have to look at what's missing around them because they keep falling short a little bit. And he's not like, and when you say it's not a knock to say you're not Tom Brady, it's just saying you're not the greatest in the world. You're not a guy that's going to find a way to get your team over the hump. You're going to need some help, and it's okay that you need some help. Like 99% of the quarterbacks in the league, pretty much are going to need that help. And I think that there's something missing in Dallas, some kind of consistent. I think it comes down to coaching. When I look at that roster, they just need better coaching.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, agreed as well. Let's move on to number 6. And coming in at number 6 was Aaron Rodgers. We had him projected 4th. But yeah, I mean, of course, his touchdown to interception ratio is incredible, as always. But and he won the MVP this year. Your guys' thoughts on Rodgers and whether or not you believe he'll be in Green Bay next year?
I don't know if he'll be in Green Bay next year. That's always going to be the question for a little bit. We'll find out in the next few weeks. He said by March, I think 9th. So, but to think about it, he threw 2 turnovers in the first week of the year, and then 2 the rest of the last 17 or 16 weeks of the year. But he had that Aaron Rodgers type year where he isn't overperforming and he's kind of just performing enough to make sure he wins the games, and he still did that in which he won the 1 seed. He had his receivers almost all year, and he even had his running backs that he wanted. So there's not really much to talk about when it comes to Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers is going to do what Aaron Rodgers does every year, and he's going to perform. He's going to put up his fantasy numbers every year. And I think it'll be interesting if he does end up changing teams, what kind of numbers he would put up on a different team. So kind of like Tom Brady when he was with New England to Tom Brady when he was with Tampa Bay. He put up a lot better numbers in Tampa Bay than he was at the end of the years with New England. So would that be the case with Aaron Rodgers? Would that be the case with even, say, Kirk Cousins? even a Deshaun Watson, what kind of numbers you put up on a different team compared to what you did with your team that you were with.
Yeah, agreed. It will be interesting to see if he stays in Green Bay. But Jeremy, thoughts on Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I would be surprised if he stays in Green Bay, and here's why. I think his deal was restructured. They got him to come. It feels like on the whole basis of I'll come for one more year. Like it feels like the contract was restructured for that, so he can leave. So something would have had to have dramatically turned around during the season for that not to happen. Because to me, it was that contract was I'll play for one more year. Like you give me tons of money, I'm going to come in, I'm going to play for one more year, I'm going to give you a year, and then I'm out of here.
So, guys that are watching, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that notification bell. We'll be doing all the other positions as well.